In World War I, British troops faced a desperate situation against the Ottoman Turks in the rocky hills of Palestine. A bloody frontal attack seemed the only way until a British major opened his Bible. What he found led to an astonishing victory the next day with almost no casualties. How did a 3,000-year-old story rewrite the outcome of a modern battle? Stay with me to find out, and also what this could mean for you. In 1918, during World War I, the British Army under General Edmund Allenby had taken control of Egypt because of the importance of the Suez Canal. The Ottoman Empire was actively trying to take it back. The Ottoman Turks controlled much of the Middle East at that time, and they had joined Germany against the Allies. The British and Ottoman armies met north of Jerusalem, and for a while they faced off across a deep gorge. It appeared the only way for the British to attack was to cross the pass and launch a frontal assault, which could be very costly because the Ottomans would have the high ground. Then British Major Vivian Gilbert of the 60th Division recognized the name of the place, Michmash. He remembered it from a 3,000-year-old Bible story, and his memory of the story would transform the outcome of the battle. Stay with me to learn how this fascinating result came about. That night, instead of a full brigade frontal attack, Major Gilbert got the go-ahead to send just one company, about 200 men, through the pass, where they overcame the few Turkish sentries and scaled the cliffs, positioning themselves on a small flat area of about half an acre before dawn. When the Turks awoke, they discovered the British were already there, and fearing they were surrounded by a much larger force, the Turks panicked, fled in disorder, and were quickly captured or killed. The British won the battle with minimal losses. How did Major Gilbert know to use this strategy? Because he had spent the evening before reading his Bible by candlelight. What could the Bible possibly have to say that would help win a battle in World War I?
And now a word about this channel. The topics explored on the Age of the Kingdom series channel grow out of research for the biblical historical fiction series of the same name. 3 books are available now. They tell the stories of King Saul, King David, and King Solomon from the viewpoint of fictional and little-known biblical characters, as well as the characters which are front and center in the Bible. These books are available from GaryIvy.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Here's what happened in 1 Samuel 13 and 14, which Major Gilbert read by candlelight the night before the battle. The Philistines had occupied much of Israel's territory, even putting a garrison right next to King Saul's capital. This had made it difficult for Saul to function as king, and Saul's son Jonathan finally had enough. So according to some translations, he assassinated the Philistine governor. In the aftermath, King Saul and his men drove the Philistines out of their tribal lands, but the Philistines sent an army of 20,000 men to put down the Israelite uprising. King Saul had a paltry 3,000 men, and they were gradually deserting as the days went by. Finally, Saul moved to meet the Philistine army at, you guessed it, Michmash. The terrain was harsh, consisting of 2 high rocky cliffs with a deep ravine between them. Saul was immobilized by fear and indecision, so he waited while his men continued to slip away, deserting. Jonathan grew impatient, so he and his armor-bearer went down into the ravine to face the Philistines alone. Jonathan was confident that God was on their side, and he and his armor-bearer agreed that if they were discovered and the Philistines told them to come on up, they would scale the cliff and attack. The Philistines did indeed spot them and laughingly told them to come on up, thinking they posed no threat. But Jonathan had another problem. The Philistines had taken all the weapons from Israel and did not allow Israelite smiths to make weapons or even sharpen tools. So Saul and Jonathan had the only swords in the army. Everyone else, including his armor-bearer, was presumably armed with shepherd's staffs, ox goads, or other tools and farm implements. When I told this story in Quest for a King, the first book of the Age of the Kingdom series, I pictured a small advance party of Philistines who were busy setting up camp and defenses when Jonathan and his armor-bearer got to the top of the cliff. The Philistine soldiers had stacked their weapons while they worked on setting up tents, so Jonathan and the armor-bearer availed themselves of the weapons, and within short order, 20 Philistines lay bloodied and dying on the ground. The rest of the Philistines scattered in terror under the impression, like the Turks would be 3,000 years later, that a much larger force was attacking. The rest of Israel's army pursued them and won a great victory, even capturing a supply train and the weapons they needed so badly. And so Israel was for a time free of Philistine oppression. They would come back, of course, and that would give rise to a young hero named David, whose trust in God would be rewarded with the killing of the giant Goliath. Tell me in the comments if you had ever heard before of Major Gilbert and the Second Battle of Michmash in World War I. After the modern Battle of Michmash, General Allenby pressed on and defeated the Ottomans again at Jericho. Ultimately, the Ottoman Empire would fall, partly as a result of being on the losing side in World War I. Great Britain and France drew the borders of the Middle Eastern countries as we know them today in the territory that had been the Ottoman Empire for more than 600 years. Like most things, it was a mixed outcome, with many tracing the problems in the Middle East until today back to the arbitrary boundaries drawn by the Europeans. In 1918, when Major Gilbert learned from the patrols that the pass was lightly guarded, he recognized they had the same situation on the same ground that Jonathan had faced 3 millennia earlier. Then he had to convince his famous superior, General Allenby, to let him use the same tactic in the same way that Jonathan had done 3,000 years ago. It's a testament to Gilbert's faith that he remembered the relatively obscure Bible story and the place name and believed that the same outcome was possible against a different enemy. Obviously, Major Gilbert was a Bible-believing Christian. Sometimes the Bible has very specific and vital information that we can use. You and I will never have to fight Turks at Michmash, but you may find yourself in a situation that mirrors something a Bible character went through, a personal moral crisis for which the Bible may provide just the answer you need. If you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you next time for more stories from the Age of the Kingdom.